Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Vulcan to the Endar Spire and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson, one of your co-hosts, and your other co-host with me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, another exciting week, Mike. We're on a short week from recording on Tuesday, but we still have way too much to cover because apparently
it really
things just
feels like
coming
we
up.
just did this.
Oh yeah, and you know we're 5 days away. Like I can't comprehend people that podcast daily or like a couple times a week. It's like that's a lot of work going on. But here we are, and there's still a full week's worth of content, even though we're only 5 days since.
I know. Crazy. And we're about to dive into it. We're going to kick things off with a pretty huge trailer that dropped this week. We talked about it in our previous week's episode, again, because it was only 5 days ago. Because there was a teaser for the new Matrix movie dropped last week that we talked about. This week, we're talking about the full trailer for The Matrix Resurrections. It comes out this Christmas in theaters and on HBO Max the same day. I'm not sure exactly what day. Is it actually Christmas Day? I think it actually might be Christmas Day.
They kept saying this Christmas in the trailer, so I'd assume they dropped
that's what
it the 25th.
Too. So what's going to be... Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Steve, what did you think about this trailer?
I briefly mentioned it before we cut ourselves off prior to the cast.
That's why I dove right to your reaction. I want to get right into it.
I hate that it made me want to watch this. Because after watching the rest of the Matrix movies, 2 and 3 were 2 and 3. It was like the quality just kept going down the rabbit hole. And speaking of rabbit holes, White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, holy, was that perfect. That song was made for that trailer.
And it wasn't like an alternative cover or like a quiet, up sad piano version of it, which is like so popular in a lot of movies now. Like it was the song. It was like a remix towards the end with like more additional scoring and stuff towards the end.
But it was just Grace
that was
Slick
the real
doing her thing.
It was great.
Yeah, like that, and that said it for me right off the bat. And then who knows? You have Neo and Trinity. I was like, Keanu and Trinity, that's not going to work. Neo and Trinity right off the bat.
Carrie-Anne Moss,
confused. And all right, how do we get them back together? By the end of the movie, judging by the fact that in the trailer you're jumping off a building, they're getting back together, and the band's firing on all cylinders. So how we get from there to there intrigues me, and that worries me because I don't want my expectations to get high and then have them dashed.
Sure. Yeah. We touched on this a little bit last week when we were talking about The Rocketeer, how I generally like to see sequels later on sequels versus reboots, like if you have enough actors to make it work. So I am very excited despite I totally get what you're saying, that 2 and 3 were letdowns after this monumental first one that we all got. But for me, like you said, just the fact that just the getting the band back together aspect is enough to make me excited. And we have, or all the people involved have so many years and so much time away from those other two, the mistakes of the other two. And I'm sure that Lana Wachowski has taken that into consideration, whether or not she thinks, she agrees with what you think are mistakes or what I think were mistakes from 2 and 3. I think she's got to know that there were mistakes. Otherwise, the reviews for those movies would have been different. So I am I was about to say I'm confident. Maybe the term is overly optimistic. Maybe the term is naive. I don't know. Call it whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But I believe that all those factors will kind of play into making this a stronger sequel, a stronger movie than the 2 and 3. And judging by this trailer, this trailer looked really great to me.
The cinematography was like absolutely on point. Everything looked beautiful. Not Morpheus looked like he was filling the role perfectly. I don't know who that character is. I don't know what he's going to be doing, but it definitely wasn't Lawrence Fishburne. That was more of a mouthful than it should have been. But that everything flowed the way it felt like a Matrix movie. And it felt like The Matrix, should I say. And I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I was about to say the look specifically I thought was great. Like it looked like very crisp and very clear, like almost too much. And I don't know if that's intentional, that it's supposed to look slightly hyper realistic because it's taking place in a computerized world or whatever that doesn't really exist. I loved the look. It just looked so good in general. I also, ever since they announced this cast, my biggest question about it is why isn't Lawrence Fishburne in this movie? Because not only has he never been announced, he said that he wasn't in it. He said that he wasn't asked to come back. Right. Unless they're like building up to some like reveal that he will be in it, like a twist or something. It just seems weird that they would get Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves and they wouldn't get Lawrence Fishburne unless they didn't have a role for him. But then you see Yahya Abdul-Mateen doing a very Morpheus-like role, and I feel like there's got to be something there because it's so clearly a Morpheus type figure, but not playing Morpheus. Like it's got to be, it's something. There's got to be a twist with that character somewhere, I think. And I don't. I mean, there's no way of knowing what is going to happen in this movie. I saw some interesting theories online. One that I thought was really cool about whoever Neo is now in the Matrix, whatever personality he has respawned as, is this inventor of like a Mark Zuckerberg like figure and has invented some kind of like framework or like Facebook type thing that in that world is called the Matrix, and it's done so any strange memory that Neo may have of his life as Neo is kind of like, oh, I'm just thinking about the Matrix, I'm thinking about this thing that I made, like a cover up for his own questioning, which I think is cool. That it may be not that at all, but I don't know, who knows. Could be anything and everything.
Now I think in all actuality the big reveal is going to be that Yahya Abdul-Mateen will be revealed as the Black Manta, and that this is actually a DC movie.
Dude, that dude's getting so much nerd money. He's
Seriously.
got Aquaman money, he's got Watchmen money, and he's about to get a buttload of Matrix money. Like, man, that guy's cleaning up our, we're emptying our nerd wallets.
He is John Osborne.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I thought this movie looked great. I'm excited to see another trailer or more from it. I feel like it's going to be a movie where it's not going to be a thing where they reveal everything in the trailers. Like if they're smart, they won't. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about another Matrix movie. It's impossible to overstate the impact on like science fiction genre that the Matrix had, whether it be like storytelling or just like the look of films or visual effects. Like it was like a Star Wars level visual effects explosion. And absolutely. I feel like a lot of like maybe younger people that are watching movies don't realize, similar to Star Wars, don't realize how integral it was to changing the landscape, because everything that came after it just was copying it so hard. Everything that it's possible to look at it and be like, oh, okay, whatever, I've seen this 1,000 times. Like, yeah, okay, you've seen it 1,000 times, but this did it before all those other 1,000 things, shamelessly copied it. So
did you see Bullet Time? Because this is where that became a fad.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Did you see there was like I think it was a Twitter video, Will Smith posted something on his social media talking about because he was pitched The Matrix, he was pitched Keanu Reeves' role as Neo.
Oh, really?
But yeah, and he talks about why he turned it down, and it's basically because the Wachowskis like didn't pitch it very well. Like they were like nervous, and they were like, imagine if you could jump and you stopped jumping and the camera moved around you while you were jumping in midair. Like that was the pitch.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to say to that? No. But he also said, like, but of course I had to say no because Keanu was amazing in that movie, and if I would done it, it would have been a completely different movie. So, like,
Right.
be happy that I wasn't in that movie because I am. Hey, it's a interesting video. Check it out. It's quick.
All right. Since we're in what if territory with Marvel, what if
Yeah.
they decided to pitch that and Will Smith was Neo and Keanu was Morpheus?
Whoa.
Think of how different that movie would be.
I just did a Keanu whoa completely naturally. I didn't even plan that. It's just what came out of my mouth.
That's great.
Yeah, that'd be no. He said who in that video? He said someone else was gonna be. Oh, Val Kilmer was gonna be Morpheus. He said.
Oh.
Which would have been interesting, right? Would have been a completely different movie.
Very different movie.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Matrix is coming out on Christmas Day. We think same as Spider-Man: No Way Home. What movie's gonna do better? You think? Christmas Day, Shang-Chi just did pretty well at the box office, but. Matrix you can watch for free at home at the same time.
I was going to say,
so...
if you can watch one for free at home and you have to go to the theater to watch one, got a hunch you're going to go see Spider-Man and then come home and watch Matrix the next day.
But I thought it was Christmas Day, though.
Yeah,
so, like,
Christmas
how many
Day,
people?
the afternoon.
I guess a fair amount of people do go to the movies on Christmas Day.
We used to, like, as a family, because we always, my mother, like, her and her family always celebrated Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day,
really?
we would just do, like, we'd do breakfast with, some other family. And then in the afternoon, we'd have nothing to do. Because our other family Christmases were various other days.
We're done.
So, yeah, we were like, we'd be sitting there in the afternoon, and we're all just like, all right, let's go watch a movie. So.
I think I would love that to be a tradition in my family, but I don't think anyone else in my family agrees with me on that. I would love to go to the movies every Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be another thing like, how much money a movie makes versus how many people watched it, I guess.
Right.
Like, how do you view success? Like, that kind of thing. Because
you get the Black
it's
Widow
possible
thing.
and it's possible on Christmas Day more people will watch The Matrix, but, it's not going to make as much money as somewhere, a movie where you have to spend money to see it, I guess.
Yeah, because there's no way to take those metrics of who had HBO Max for these day and date releases and who had it for, last week tonight or something. So.
Yeah, and even like this past Christmas was when Wonder Woman 1984 debuted, and that did huge numbers for HBO Max. So like, they know that people are looking to watch stuff Christmas night.
Yeah.
This year it's going to be The Matrix. So
I guarantee I'll be watching.
We will see how it
night.
does. I'll guarantee I'll be watching it too, if not the next day. And anyway, I'm excited about it. Moving from The Matrix to a universe we just mentioned, Marvel. We got a couple Marvel-ish things to talk about this week. First, real quick. Late yesterday or the day before, not too long ago, Marvel announced that they have scheduled 4 new Untitled films for 2024. They've blocked off days of February 6th, May 3rd, July 26th, and November 8th.
Yeah,
so that's 4 new movies. So this has all got to be still Phase 4 stuff, right?
Yeah, it's still going to be in Phase 4. If we're talking completely what ifs, because that's what Marvel's doing at this point, we might as well.
Yeah.
You're looking at 4 dates in 2024. What in the heck do you think they could be?
I will bet a lot of money that February 6th is Black Panther 2.
Yep. Because they haven't announced the date on that yet.
Yep, and first Black Panther came out in February, Black History Month. I'd be shocked if they didn't do that same thing for Black Panther 2. So my guess is that February 6th, 2024 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Because apparently that is going to be out July 8th, 2022.
Okay, well it's not then. I'm wrong about that.
That'll be
I didn't know that there was a date for Wakanda Forever.
I didn't either. I just looked that up.
I didn't know they've been filming that long, but I guess it doesn't take 4 years to make a movie. So
right, I keep forgetting how close and how far 2024 is, because I still remember like thinking about when they were announcing all these movies that are coming out now, like Multiverse of Madness and Shang-Chi and everything like that. It's like, oh, that seemed like so long, and then it happens like that. So
and you stay home for a year and don't do anything because there's a global pandemic, so time becomes meaningless, and you don't know when is what anymore. Okay, well, screw that idea. You can just edit that part out where I made a completely stupid prediction. That'd be great. I don't know, but I would be shocked if one of these wasn't Fantastic Four. I think. Does the Marvels have a date yet? Captain Marvel 2, the Marvels?
I don't
Do we know that?
I would assume that's probably 2023. So to give
I would
you
think
the,
that that's slightly earlier because that's already filming.
yeah, to give you the defined slate, what we have is not that one. I literally just had it up 2 seconds ago. This makes for awesome radio.
Well, I was gonna say, while you're looking
Love
for
and
that,
Thunder,
I will
I
be
got it.
shocked if one of these isn't a Fantastic Four. I'll
Yep.
be shocked if one of these isn't something having to do with the X-Men.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what everybody's kind of. I would assume everybody's assuming because when you throw those dates out there and you don't have any of them attached to anything, that May
Right.
3rd, where they've been throwing the blockbusters, just screams one of those two franchises. So
Yeah.
it should, and then July 26th you had a summer blockbuster, and then November 8th
Yep.
is about where they released where the Eternals would be this year. So
Yeah.
you've probably got a couple of other, is it Thunderbolts? Is it something like, do you bring in like Nova if you want to keep crazy galactic stuff going? I'm just pining for a Nova movie because that would be awesome.
Is one of them Young Avengers? Do you think we'll be that far along by
we might
2024
be.
to get Young
I mean,
Avengers?
if we're talking, we've already got a good chunk of them assembled, pun intended.
I mean, introduced for sure.
Do you think? Yeah, everybody would be there and introduced, and you're gonna have enough other team ups and like other movies where they're fleshed out a little that, yeah, maybe you bring them together. That wouldn't be
Or Captain America 4. We recently talked about how they announced
true.
that Anthony Mackie signed on for Captain America 4.
Yep, because I'd assume
So that
Blade
could
will
be
be
one of
before
these.
that. Like Blade will probably be 2023.
Ooh, Blade. That's right. God, there's so much that's hard to keep track of. You think
Yeah.
Blade will be 2023?
I would think so. Probably Blade and the Marvels will be 2023.
Okay.
Like maybe Marvel's early, then Blade, then Guardians 3.
maybe-
We've still got a Guardians 3.
Oh, that's right. There's no date for Guardians 3, right?
Right. And then Ant-Man Quantumania, I don't know if that's got a date yet.
I think that's dated. Actually, I'd be shocked if Guardians 3 wasn't dated already.
Yeah. Huh.
Because he's
gonna be
like
fun.
making that movie already. Suicide Squad's done, so he's making it. So I feel like okay, if Marvel's is already dated, if Ant-Man 3 is already dated, we know Thor Love and Thunder is already dated. We know that I am pretty sure
Yeah.
here's what I think. I think one of these is Fantastic Four. I'm
Yep.
going to say I think one of these is Captain America 4. I think one of these is an X-Men project. And I think one of them is Deadpool 3. I think
Good
February
call, 'cause
I think
that's gotta
February
be
6th is
a-
Deadpool 3.
Yeah, because that's got to be an MCU release now. So,
Yeah,
ah,
because
intriguing.
the original Deadpool came out in February.
Yeah.
And that like
Yep.
January, February is like traditionally like a not hot month for movies. Like people like kind of you dump movies that you don't think are going to be good in those first 2 months because no one really goes to the movies in January and February. That's long been the theory. But movies like Deadpool, Black Panther came out in February and crushed at huge numbers. So my guess is that February 6th is Deadpool 3. That's
All
I'm
right.
putting my Multiverse Report predictions right here.
I would actually agree
Mike
with that because you think
Mike Gibson's Multiverse Report. Like, write these down. We're gonna check this episode in 2024 when we're going to see these movies. Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, Captain America 4, and an X-Men movie. That's what I think. Because you know what? I think Young Avengers is going to be a Disney Plus series.
Yeah, I could see all that being accurate. Or they do a Young Avengers Disney Plus series and then, cap it off with a feature in like 25
Right.
down the road. So,
Yeah.
I think you
I
might
am
be onto
also.
something there.
What's that?
I think you might be onto something there.
Okay. Good. 'Cause I'm also making all this up right
Oh
now.
yeah,
I haven't
we're
thought
winging
about
it.
for a second before right this very moment. So
Literally before the cast, we were like, you know what? These dates, we're not going to be able to talk much about them.
yeah, we're not going to talk about these for more than 2 seconds. We're just going to say them and then we're going to move on.
And here we are.
So anyway, mark this date that I made that prediction, and then, I mean, they'll announce these a year from now, right?
Oh, yeah.
We won't have to wait till 2023 to even know what these dates are. So a year from now, when they announce these dates, you can either say, Mike and Steve, you guys are geniuses, or you can send us all the hate mail and make fun of us if you want. Like, you are idiots. How did you think that? How did you forget about this or whatever?
Right.
Blah blah blah.
And you
do
can send
either of
that
those
hate
things,
mail.
but either way, do it and engage with us on social media and tell
Right.
us how much you love/hate us for these predictions.
Send that hate mail to themultiversereport@gmail.com.
We're gonna read every single one. We'll do a whole show of all
Yeah.
the hate mail that you sent us about how dumb we are and how these predictions did not fall through. A movie that we do know is coming out in 2022, March 25th, 2022, is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And we got, this week, an interview with Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch, talked to The Hollywood Reporter, and I'm not going to say what it was about. I'm just going to read the quote. Ready for this? He said, well, with the first film, you're always locked into a script because it's the origin story. But there was a lot more freedom this time around. I guess because we were not literally making it up as we go along, but sometimes it feels like that. Marvel has this amazing ability to come into production. We just really have to start shooting now. It doesn't matter if that third act isn't quite where you want it to be. You just do things on a wing and a prayer sometimes.
Well,
Wow. Well,
that does explain the Marvel third act problem a little.
yes, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, they're like Marvel. The MCU is like this machine. That, we set a date.
Right,
It's
like we're
2021,
talking about.
and they just booked 4 dates for 2024, and then we know we're gonna make this. This movie's coming out February 6th, 2024. This movie's coming out November 8th, 2024. Make it happen. You got to start shooting before the script is done. You got to start shooting before the script is done. So, my question, Steve, is: does this make you excited? I mean, we're all excited for Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness. Does this make you worried about the third act of this movie, or about this movie not coming together? Because we all know that Sam Raimi has made at least one superhero movie that turned into quite the problem, quite the debacle, when he had to stick to a studio schedule and studio notes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Spider-Man 3, of course. So, Steve, what do you think about this quote, and how does it impact your feeling about Doctor Strange 2?
Well, it's one of those where, with Cumberbatch, if he said that's kind of how we did the first time too, yes, you're locked into the script, but like you're on deadline, you're still hitting things, and like you've got to hit it by the numbers. That sets the precedent for why all these origin stories seem to flow quite well and are solid. And then why some of these other ones where they're just kind of, if they're doing things quote unquote on a wing and a prayer, it really explains where acts 1 and 2 seem very fully fleshed out, and then act 3 it's like, well, it was a nice action sequence, and we'll probably pick it up in the next movie. And with the MCU, they can do that, which, for better or for worse, for those movies,
they can do that, but do you want them to rely on the fact that they can do that?
I was gonna say,
no,
I don't want them to do that every movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's mildly worrying if that's still how they're kind of doing things. At the same time, they'll probably pull it off, which is almost the problem. Like, they almost need one of these to just fall on its face and just be like, all right, let's reset this. Let's take some time off and figure out how we can spread this out so we can get some scripts done, get a full movie fleshed out, and go.
Yeah, that would be interesting if now, in Phase 4, they just made a real terrible movie.
Yeah.
Like, because it's been a while. Like, everyone points to Thor: The Dark World. Everyone points to Iron Man 2. Some people point the Incredible Hulk. I like that movie a lot, but some people really don't. I mean, you can debate after that, but most people will generally agree Iron Man 2 and Thor 2, the worst, kind of the bottom of the barrel of the MCU. it's been a while. They've clearly learned from those mistakes. It's been a while that they've had one that was both critically and like you know, and fans critically panned and fans didn't like it either. I think it would be kind of funny if they did that now, just like if Ant-Man 3 was like nobody liked it and it
Right.
made no one want to see it. Like that would be crazy. And I can't imagine that happening, but
No, you've got
it
Paul
would
Rudd and
certainly.
Jonathan Majors. There's no chance that's going to fall on its face. So
Yeah, I picked the wrong one for that. Everyone's gonna go see that one for sure. But
and
I don't know,
actually,
like it would just
Evangeline
be it
Lilly's
would be
back for that
insane.
too, right?
Say that again?
I said Evangeline Lilly's back for that too, right? So it's
Oh yeah, I think it's the whole
we're full
Ant-Man
blown
crew.
Douglas and the whole 9 yards.
I believe so. Yeah.
Everyone except for Janet. She's still hanging out in the quantum realm, so we'll probably find her.
No, they brought her back.
They brought her back and then she went back, didn't she? Or am I going insane?
No, she was at the funeral in Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still hanging around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine then.
How do you feel about Ant-Man and the Wasp in general?
I think it's nice to be able to take that disconnect of like they're just fun. They're not. I don't know. And apparently we're going to be diving in deeper with Quantumania, and it's going to become the, you know, if Kang is the big bad, then things are going a little deeper and more connected to the rest of the MCU. But it was nice to have that nice little disconnect of like, yeah, it's just Paul Rudd being Paul Rudd, and there's this whole thing going on, and yeah, the whole ghost thing was kind of funky, but Lawrence Fishburne was Lawrence Fishburne. He played Lawrence Fishburne, so it was nice to have it separated. But now that I mean, if Kang's going to be the big bad, then it's going to be tied back into everything. So I don't know how I'm feeling about that. It was a nice
seems
side
like
project.
3 is going to be less of like a comedic break
Right.
that the first 2 kind of felt like, because it was like a step removed. It
Yep.
seems like the third one isn't going to be a step removed. I know a lot of people love Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really do not like that movie
Oh yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Like, just I've seen it maybe 2 or 3 times, and I try to like it every time, and it just doesn't work for me at all. I don't like it. It's really it's at the not quite the bottom of my list, but it's down there with Iron Man 2 and Thor. It just makes me angry. I don't like it so much.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think I fall somewhere dead nuts in the middle with that. Like it's probably the bottom middle, but it's like it's fine.
Yeah.
It's good
So
popcorn
again,
movie.
you Ant-Man fans, send that hate mail to the Multiverse Report at gmail.com. And I don't check that. Steve does, so make sure you are yelling at me, but you know, Steve's the one that's gonna have to read it.
I'll pass it along.
So anyway, I really hope that Sam Raimi can pull off Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, all 3 acts of it, and that it's not. I hope it doesn't feel like it's being made on a wing and a prayer. You got to think that Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel didn't love hearing him say that in an interview. It's like,
no.
What are you doing, Benny? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Wing and a prayer, like that's wing and a prayer is like that's saying a lot. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's a little rough, but
yeah, it's a little rough.
There are some
right.
other sequels that we are distinctly looking forward to in the Marvel universe. Coming up.
Yes.
From the Sony, I can't remember what it was. It was some reveal for all their video games, but Sony's Insomniac Game Studio dropped a teaser for the upcoming Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. Which,
yeah,
that was. I'm an Xbox guy because I
Not
have
for
that in
long.
the past, and I'm pretty sure that's changing. Coming up, I believe it's by 2023 I need to have a PS5.
Yeah, yep. Me too. I have a PS4, and I put off getting a PS5 because 1, it was impossible,
Yep.
and 2, I was like, well, they're still making all these for PS4, so I can still buy games for PS4. And now, knowing that games like Spider-Man are probably going to be exclusive to PS5, I am going to have to make that switch because, man, did this trailer look amazing. Go online and check it out. It's a short kind of teaser. It, if you don't want to be spoiled, stop listening right now or go forward 30 seconds or whatever. But It teases a big bad being Venom, which is exciting, which was teased. Spoiler alert for those who haven't played the first Spider-Man PS4 video game. Teased very briefly at the very end. I think it might have even been a post-credit or mid-credit scene of the game once you finish the campaign and the credits start rolling. There's a scene that makes it seem like Norman Osborn may be the host of the symbiote in this universe of Spider-Man, which would certainly make it a more personal story for Peter if that's the case. Seems like a game, if the game is going to be just as sprawling as the first game, you have plenty of time for that symbiote to leave Norman and go to Peter and go to Eddie Brock. Like, you could definitely make that happen.
And if
the other cool thing about this,
then if Norman's got it, you have a scientist with it who may do some crazy Life Foundation stuff too. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Norman Osborn definitely set up for some wild experimentation in that first game. So Venom seems to be the villain. Also, it really feels like Kraven the Hunter is narrating that trailer.
That really felt like that.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna get at least both those villains. The first game was cool. It introduced a bunch of different, you had to fight a number of Spider-Man characters and Spider-Man villains, while Dr. Octopus being kind of the long con there. So clearly they have a track record of being able to do multiple villains and pull it off well. Other cool thing is both Peter and Miles will be playable characters in this game, which I think is great. Miles being introduced in the first game and then also got his own kind of spin-off game for the PS5. I'm all excited about all of this, and I'm doubly excited that within the same universe of these Spider-Man games will now exist a Wolverine game from the same studios. Insomniac Games also dropped a very brief teaser for a Wolverine game that they are currently developing. It's in very early stages, apparently, so it's going to be a while. There's no release date yet, but if they can do for Wolverine what they did with Spider-Man, I cannot wait to see what that is like.
I was giddy as all get out watching that little, yes, Spidey looks awesome. We've already had, Spider-Man 1. This is going to be an awesome game. I'm literally probably getting a PS5 for that game.
Yeah.
But, as a child of the 90s and a child of X-Men the Animated Series, as I was, Wolvie will always have that, that place in my heart. And just watching that trailer, that if you haven't seen the teaser, it's literally just a small snippet of CGI it's probably like the intro to, one of the chapters where he's sitting at a bar and the entire bar is just decimated and everyone is sprawled out, beat up or dead or whatever.
Yeah, clearly after a fight.
And some guy pulls out a knife and starts walking towards him, and it's just him with a drink.
You don't see his face; it's shot from behind.
There's nothing
until the camera zooms down onto one of his hands.
That's bloody as all get out, and just you don't have it's no costume, no nothing, not the stereotypical, yellow Wolverine 90s suit or anything, or my personal favorite, the old brown and orange.
The best.
And you hear the guy flick open his knife, and it pans to Logan's hand, and the blades just come out, and you're just like, yeah, I need this game now.
There's been, like you said, child of the 90s, child of 90s X-Men comics and the X-Men cartoon show. I'm in the same boat there. Obviously, when I was a kid, loved Wolverine. He's my favorite X-Man.
Yep.
Played him all the time in the X-Men Legends games of yore that I loved.
X-Men the arcade game.
So fun. Yeah, X-Men the arcade game. Yeah, big, huge fan of Wolverine. But I gotta say, I think the market got a little oversaturated with Wolverine.
It did.
With the Hugh Jackman playing him in every X-Men movie. And I thought Hugh Jackman was great, but it wasn't. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is great, but it's not the comic book Wolverine, and it's not the cartoon show Wolverine. The cartoon show is very much the comic book Wolverine, I believe.
I would agree.
So seeing this kind of made me feel it kind of reinvigorated it reminded me that I love Wolverine and I love Logan as Wolverine. In a way that I hadn't felt in a long time. When I saw those claws come out, I got excited about a Wolverine thing that I hadn't been excited about that character in a really long time. And I think it's just the potential, knowing like, oh, they can do this with Spider-Man, then what can they do with Wolverine? And I'm just imagining running through woods with my claws out, leaping at robots or, military agents or something. Like, I can't wait to play that game. I know it's probably going to be like 2026 or something before we even get a full trailer for it or whatever, but I am pumped for it for sure. Pumped.
So we get that,
and
then
and moving universes, but sticking on the same topic, still talking about video games, but going to a galaxy far, far away. We got another teaser for another game that you may have heard of called Knights of the Old Republic. They are remastering the classic 2003 Star Wars game. It was really originally released for Xbox and PC. They are remastering it, remaking it for PS5. We got a short teaser trailer starring Darth Revan and a voiceover. Steve, I'm going to throw it to you in a second. I have never played Knights of the Old Republic. I know nothing about Knights of the Old Republic. I don't want to know anything about Knights of the Old Republic because, when I said I don't know anything, I know one thing. Two things. Three? No, two. Let's stick with two. I know that everyone loves it.
Yes.
And I know that there's a huge twist in it, a mind-blowing twist. I don't want to know anything about Knights of the Old Republic because I want to play this version of it because I can't play the old one because I don't have an Xbox. I've never had an Xbox, which is why I've never played Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, I was like, how can I play this game? So many people are talking about this. Can I even buy a 2003 version of this game? Like, how do I even do this? I don't want to buy an Xbox just to play this one game that is 20 years old. Mm-hmm. What's happening here? Now, they're making it so I don't have to do that. I just got to buy my PS5, which I'm going to do anyway for Spider-Man 2. So I'm excited to finally be able to experience not the original, but a version of this game that I'll finally be able to speak to it and talk about it and know about this incredible chapter of the Star Wars universe, a universe that I love so very much. Steve, that's my take. That's my ignoramus take on Knights of the Old Republic. I've never played it. Steve, you have played it?
Yep.
How do you feel about this?
I'm excited as hell. And dare I say, I'm as excited about that as I am.
Is it raining at your house like insanely loud?
I don't know.
It's raining so loud in my house. I had to take my headphones off to make sure that it wasn't something more than rain.
Maybe that's
nervous.
I just got like a notification of the camera in my son's room going off, so maybe that's what it is.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, the like KOTOR was and still is, in my opinion, one of the best, like literally one of the best video games I've ever played. It was that good.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And it was a bonus for being in the Star, like even if it wasn't in the Star Wars universe, they nailed that whole game. It was just phenomenal. The whole premise, like you said, Revan is featured in the teaser. You're set up as like the only things you know going in are that, is the rain that killer, man?
Sorry, I can't. This is troubling to me. Hold on a second. Jesus.
This is great.
Yeah, it's rain,
coming
but
down.
Man, as someone whose basement flooded a couple weeks ago, I'm just like hyper vigilant about rain sounds now. Like we're gonna be done with this, and I'm gonna run downstairs and make sure there's no water in my basement again.
Yep.
If anyone who has been watching for a few weeks is wondering why I'm not sitting in front of a bookshelf full of comic books and I'm just in front of a boring, bland window, because my basement flooded and a bunch of my stuff got ruined. Anyway, sorry. Keep going back to Knights of the Republic. I'm sorry. It's so deafeningly loud. It's insane. Sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, setting up like just the teaser, setting up Revan the way they did, it's perfect and it's great. I'm not gonna say anything that could possibly spoil you for anything because it is an experience and you need to experience it. It will be done, from what I could gather, it will be done day and date on PC as well. So it'll be PS5 and PC instead of Xbox and PC. So anyone who has those options, it'll be a solid hit for them as well. Yeah, I mean, it was just a great game. it will be a great remake, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know I've talked it up to you for years at this point, so
Yeah, but it's great. Like so many, I've heard other people say it's one of the greatest video games of all time.
yeah,
Um, and it came out in 2003. Like, it's not. The graphics are dated, gameplay is dated by this point severely. But apparently it still holds up
yeah,
after all that time. And I think that from what I've heard, it's really the storytelling that is the most compelling part of it. I almost broke down once on YouTube and almost watched just all the cutscenes to see
oh
if I
yeah,
could like get the story, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And I'm glad I didn't, because now I get to actually experience it, at least a version of it. And I wonder, do you think they're going to change too much? Like, I don't know what it means when they said it's called a remake. They're also calling it a remaster. So I'm like, are they
right.
just changing updating the graphics but keeping the gameplay? It feels like if they're going into this, they're going to revamp the entire thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I
I don't
mean,
know.
I would be happy with them just revamping, the control scheme and the graphics on it, and it would be
Yeah.
phenomenal. Um, I would play through it again in a heartbeat. It was
Yeah.
it was good enough that like I've played through it twice. I would play through it a third time.
Wow.
So, and it's not
Cool.
a short game by any stretch. So
Yeah.
it'll be good. I'm looking forward to more details coming out and what we can see in kind of future trailers. So
All right. Cool. Me too. Well, leaving Star Wars, although we're leaving Star Wars, going to a universe we seldom talk about because neither you and I or are experts on this universe. Going to Star Trek. We got so many Star Trek announcements this week that we couldn't not talk about them. We got a date debut for season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. I saw season 4. I was like, I can't believe it's already been 4 seasons of that show already. It's crazy. Um, Season 4 is going to debut in November 18th this year, 2021, which will be the first time in 20 years that 2 Star Trek shows will be on the air at the same time, which is crazy.
huh.
Um, it's been like there was like such a low, like a rut for like Star Trek content for so long.
Yeah.
We also got a trailer for season 2 of Picard, and also announcement that it's been renewed for season 3. I guess that means that he's going to make it out of season 2. Okay. Um,
Seems fair.
the trailer for season 2 of Picard featured a lot of time travel-y things that I didn't know were so prevalent in the Star Trek universe. There's a little bit of that, obviously, in the J.J. Abrams movies, but I didn't know that they dug into time travel so much. But again, I don't know much about Star Trek at all. We
Yeah.
also got a date and a trailer for Star Trek Prodigy, a new animated series about an all-alien Starfleet crew. It's going to be on Nickelodeon at the end of October. And we also got a tease of Star Trek Lower Decks, a mid-season tease. It's like an animated comedy that takes place of like people that work like in the lower decks of the ship. Apparently, it's very funny, but also very strict to the canon as well. And some character announcements on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is a show that's being developed about some like Captain Pike and some other like Spock, I think, is in it. Some like prequel basically series. So Steve, I haven't seen any of these shows. Again, I like Star Trek, but I'm not a huge rabid fan of it. How amazing is it for people that are rabid fans of Star Trek that all of a sudden, after what's felt like a long time without a whole ton of Star Trek stuff, you there's like if you have the Paramount, all the stuff is on Paramount Plus, and that seems just like a haven for Star Trek fans. You're getting
Yeah.
2 live action shows that are already going, Picard and Discovery, plus you're getting Strange New Worlds, which is a new live action show, and like 2 animated shows. Like, when's the last time that there was that much Star Trek content? I feel like for those
Never.
years that the J.J. Abrams movies were happening, that was all. I don't think there may have been a little bit of crossover with a TV show, but like I feel like that was really just the films,
Yeah.
and there wasn't really anything else going on. Like, how great is it to be a Star Trek fan these days?
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, my Star Trek knowledge is like catching some episodes of The Next Generation when we were growing up and watching the first 5 episodes or so of Discovery before my trial on Paramount Plus or CBS All Access at the time ran out. I really enjoyed it, but there was nothing else on Paramount at the time for me to keep it.
Yeah.
Now I actually have it I've had it for a month for soccer related stuff.
Oh,
And
nice.
this may be like an ancillary benefit for me where, oh, I've got it for something else, but I can definitely use it to dive into some of this because
Yeah.
everything I've heard about Picard and everything, Discovery seemed like it was a very strong premise. So uh, we may have more Star Trek knowledge in the
In
pod
the
coming up
future.
soon.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we
If
need someone to represent for sure.
yeah, if I can actually find the time to watch that, seeing I'm still behind on Doom Patrol and Titans, so
Yeah, that's the problem. Time.
it's almost like there's too much crap
Um,
coming out now. Go figure.
I know, right? I know. Yeah, I watch all the trailers for all these shows when they come out, and I always think they look great, but I just never.
Yep.
Again, I don't have Paramount Plus, so actually, that's a lie. I currently do. We're in the middle of a week trial of Paramount Plus. We got specifically so my son could watch the Paw Patrol movie, which he has watched 3 times in 3 days.
Mm.
So, yeah. Anyway, speaking of
Paw Patrol?
you, Paw Patrol, yeah, we're getting a new.
That's our new universe we're branching out into.
Do you think that there's a Paw Patrol review podcast out there somewhere? Like an episode by episode deep dive into the goings on in Adventure Bay?
I want to say no, but I also want to say yes.
I'd be kind of surprised if there wasn't. If there wasn't, I feel like you and I should start that and become millionaires because
Yeah, just
if no one else is doing that, that'd be great. We could keep it kid friendly.
there you go.
Kid friendly Paw Patrol recap podcast. Who wouldn't want to listen to that if
Oh,
you were
yeah.
a Paw Patrol fan?
Absolutely. For the
I would
record,
also,
there is,
by the way,
there is the
hate
podcast,
doing that show
so
because I hate Paw Patrol. I would never want to do that. Sorry, you and I both said something at the same time, and I couldn't hear what you were saying because I was too focused on my own point. What did you say?
there apparently is the podcast, a Paw Patrol podcast. So
Damn.
we're off the hook.
Good. I don't want to do that. I hate that show.
We're making less money, but we're off the hook.
Yeah. I say it was really funny for any parents out there that are listening to this that watch Paw Patrol. I was laughing at the movie because the show is like so just like goofy and a comedy and like yeah they're like saving people but like
Right.
you know they're gonna be fine or whatever. There's no stakes. The movie adds like real drama to the characters, and all of a sudden the main dog Chase is like, I just can't do it, Ryder. I don't think I'm strong enough. Like all this like super dramatic stuff. It's just like, where the hell is this coming from?
It's like,
Very foreign to me from the
I just
Paw
wanted you
Patrol
to
universe.
take three episodes and put them together and call it a movie. That'd be fine.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I thought it was gonna be. I was like, oh wow, no, there's like some real drama going on in the Paw Patrol universe. Anyway, let's stop talking about Paw Patrol, please, and talk about comic books. That's why we're here. That's what we like talking about more than most things in my life, I could say. We got some cool. You know what? I'm gonna say both of these at the same time. Then we're gonna talk about them in general, both of these, because they're very similar updates. One from Marvel and one from DC. Marvel Unlimited relaunched this week with new features and some exclusive comics. Some comics that they're calling. Sorry, Marvel Unlimited is the digital Marvel Comics reading app for your smartphone, for your computer, for your iPad, whatever, what have you. Got kind of a facelift this week, a redesign. All the old content is still there. Thousands and thousands of like back issues of Marvel Comics. Now they're starting to focus on exclusive comics made for the app, and those are going to be called Infinity Comics. They're designed to be read on the phone or tablet, which means you're scrolling down instead of going panel by panel, which a lot of like the DC Infinite app does, Marvel Unlimited does, Comixology, I believe. They go panel by panel, so you can still zoom out and see the entire comic book page, how it would look if you were holding it in a book.
Yep.
But if you change the guide basically or the reading style, it goes panel by panel, so you can actually like read it. This is different. This is like a scrolling scroll down panel. Each panel is very simple, not too intricate. You cannot zoom out and see an entire page. They're not connected like an entire page. It's literally just scrolling as you would on a phone or a laptop or what have you. So Infinity Comics launched this week with X-Men Unlimited was the first one, which we mentioned last week. We didn't know the name of it when we talked about it last week, but it's the Jonathan Hickman and Declan Shalvey comic book specifically written for the Marvel Unlimited app. At the same time, another thing we talked about last week, DC, or 2 weeks ago, I don't know, DC announced a partnership with Webtoon, an incredibly popular online comic reading website. It has 72 million subscribers to that site, or like views, I think. It's a completely free site, is the other thing too. They announced a partnership with Webtoon, and the first of those books came out this week. It's called Batman Wayne Family Adventures, and it's basically Bruce Wayne acting as a dad with all of the sidekicks, Robin, Batgirl, Red Hood, I'm blanking. The Signal are the four main ones seemingly so far. Living in Wayne Manor. Like the focus is more on the family than the actual adventures part, which I think is fun and what a lot of fans really enjoy, the interaction between the characters. It already has 470,000 subscribers, that one book. There's 3 issues out already, and it has 470,000 subscribers. DC also has its own digital app, DC Universe Infinite, and has for a while been doing exclusive digital books for that app. So Marvel and DC are kind of in the same boat here. Marvel is starting to do digital only stuff for the app. DC's been doing it for a little bit. DC's also partnering with Webtoon. These are the two big comic book producing companies, the big two. Yep. They're kind of diving into a new platform, I guess you could say. DC's going directly to Webtoon, where Marvel seems to be mimicking it on their own platform, I should say, to kind of, I guess, reach out to like a new generation of comic book readers, right? I mean, it's kind of exciting that they're both taking these steps to attract new viewers and are trying to meet readers where they are. I guess they're not trying to say like, hey, stop doing what you're doing, stop reading Webtoon and come read real comics. Like that's an attitude that they could have easily have taken, but they're saying like, oh, you guys like reading Webtoon, or you guys like scrolling like that, we're gonna make comics for you, for those people. DC's going directly to Webtoon, Marvel saying, hey, come do that on our app, and also you can get all these other comic books at the same time. Steve, you are a subscriber to Marvel Unlimited. Have you gotten a chance to check out X-Men Unlimited, or check out the at least the style of the scrolling or anything like that? Have you gotten a look at any of it? I saw a few panels of the Hickman thing so far, with Wolverine kind of diving into from out of the sky, it seemed like, but I haven't gotten too much into that one. I have looked at the Batman Wayne Family Adventures a little bit. I haven't read all 3 issues yet. But it is pretty adorable, watching those kids kind of interact and fight over cookies in that Alfred is serving in Wayne Manor. I gotta say, I don't love the look of it. I don't love the scroll. I don't love that you can't zoom out and see a full comic book page. I feel like it's not. I mean, it is comics, but it's not comic books, I guess, if that makes sense. The format is just it's a little more off-putting for me. I don't love it. The story is there, but it just doesn't feel the same to me in a way that even reading actual comic books on an app still kind of feels that way to me. Steve, I don't know if you have any opinions on any of this. I just talked a long time, but you seemed like you were busy looking at something else, so I kept vamping for a little bit. But
yeah, I was busy I was trying to pull up the Unlimited to actually get a visual on it.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason my sign-in decides to not work when I actually need it to, because thank you, technology.
Yeah.
That said, Marvel did the Infinity thing for a bit before they rolled it into, I think they had it on their other app, which for some ungodly reason, and it's, in my opinion, the dumbest thing ever, they have Unlimited and then they have their app. And their app is where you get the actual new comics, and Unlimited is where you can get the old stuff. And it's like, why don't you just put that all into one app and then tab it or do something along those lines? But
really,
whatever.
That's still a thing?
Oh, it's a thing. Because
that's dumb.
Legitimately, there's comics that I would, instead of pulling, subscribe to digitally, but I don't, because I don't want to have to go into both apps. I don't have to remember which one I have to go to. So I just keep getting them in print, which also seems dumb. I did not know that. Whatever.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So that's where Marvel is. But I think they rolled the Infinity stuff into Unlimited, which is awesome. like to
Yeah.
roll that into the sub. Um, I don't know. I mean, if it's a book with Hickman and Shelby, it should be good. For the
Yeah.
X-Men Unlimited, and there's a ton of other stuff that they're going to be rolling out with that. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, they said they wanted there'll be 100 exclusive comics
Yeah.
before the end of the year.
Yeah, which is insane
Unlimited.
amount of content.
Yeah.
And then the webtoon stuff. Like I saw a couple of panels from Wayne Family Adventures, and it seems like it's a solid concept, and that like it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Without the sub, it's like okay, I'm probably not going to read it until I find some way to grab a new free trial, because I wasted my other one on a while back. So may have to be hunting around for that. But yeah, I mean, if that's what people are reading, it makes sense that they're moving to stuff like this. So it seems like a good move by both companies, which usually one follows the other, or one thing is predicated by the other. So to see them both move in the same space, there's probably something there.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's easy for naysayers or whatever to be like, "This is the end of the industry. They're changing, the format or whatever." It's like, no, it's just a different thing, dude. Like, I think people are still going to buy comic books.
Yeah.
People are still going to read comic books, and like, this is just a new thing.
Yeah, it's always
and
the end
they
of the
are,
industry,
like you just said, they're very smart to do that. They're very smart to try new things.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Otherwise, you end up like Marvel in the '90s.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of comic books, we got some other cool stuff coming out this week. We've got Batman 89 #2. I just today finally made it to my comic book store, and they finally got another shipment of Batman 89 #1. So I'm super pumped that I can finally read that book that I've been waiting for forever. Black Widow #11 comes out. Fantastic Four 35, which is the beginning of possibly or part of the celebration of 60-year anniversary of the Fantastic Four this year. We got I Am Batman #1, the debut of a new Batman. We got Man-Eater's Curse #3. I threw this on the list. I wanted to give this one a shout out. This is a book that I randomly picked up, Man-Eater's Curse #1, because I liked the name of it. I thought the cover was cool, and I read it, and I was like, this is hilarious. It was a super stylized, super funny book about a girl going off to like a summer camp and weird things happening. I did not know until tonight when I was putting it on this list that it is a sequel to a series called Man-Eaters that I had no idea. It's an Image book. But now I want to read Man-Eaters because I'm reading Man-Eater's Curse, and I was like, that's weird that a book would have a subtitle and its debut. And it's like, oh, it's not its debut, it's a sequel. So I'm reading the sequel, enjoying the hell out of it. I'm going to go back and start reading Man-Eaters because it's so cool. So shout out to Man-Eaters Cursed. It's really funny, and apparently you don't need to have read Man-Eaters to think it's great because I didn't.
There you go.
We also got Rorschach #12, the end of the run, Tom King's run on Rorschach, a very interesting and I think pretty great in-universe Watchmen sequel. Definitely worth reading in trade paperback. I'm sure it'll be out in probably 2 or 3 months, a trade collection of the entire series. Yep. And a super cool book's coming out. It's called Batman the World. This coincides with Batman Day, which happens this week. I think it's September 14th is Batman Day.
Cool.
I don't know why. Just because, corporations tell us that it's Batman Day. I guess that's the reason that it's Batman Day. But as part of the celebration of that, Batman the World is a 184-page hardcover anthology with creators from all around the world writing their own versions of Batman, taking place in their own countries. That includes writers and artists from the United States, Brazil, China, Czech Republic, Greece, Germany, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Poland, South Korea, Spain, Italy, and Turkey. That sounds super cool to me. Just like radically different versions of Batman in different countries. How would he function? How would he look? How would he act? What do the villains look like? Like, that's super interesting to me, and definitely something that I'm excited to check out. Steve, is there anything on this list or your own personal list that you are excited about reading or getting into?
Added to this, I'll throw Trial of Magneto #2.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
That's continuing. I missed #1. I'm sure it'll be out in a second printing. It's one of those where I forgot to type the email to our local comic book shop saying, hey, add this. Like, I pull every other X-Men book. Why would I want this? And actually, I when I was in last week, they were like, "Oh yeah, we probably should have thought about that." Like, okay, cool.
Okay, great.
Like, I'm glad you understand this in hindsight, and I'm sure it'll go to second printing, so I'm not worried about it. But would have been nice.
Yeah, I made that mistake with a book, another Image book. I got the reverse mistake that I made, where I got number one of a book that I thought looked cool. It's called The Me You Know in the Dark. About an Image book about an artist who has rented like an old house so she can like do some, I don't know, painting or something. I don't
Right.
really remember, and finds out that the house is haunted. And the first issue is just so cool and sets up some really interesting storytelling. Number two came out this week. I assumed that I'd be able to go and pick it up without putting it on my pull list. It was sold out, and so I do not get to read number two until they come out with a second printing. That's a bummer. But also check out The Me You Know in the Dark from Image. Pretty cool book so far.
Nice.
So moving from comics, wrapping things up with some one-shot stories, some smaller stories that we do want to mention, and we will talk about at the end. We're going to go rapid fire through like the headlines, then we're going to talk about them as we wrap up the show here. Steve, why don't you kick it off?
So, as to be expected, Andrew Garfield has once again denied being in Spider-Man No Way Home, even if there is leaked footage of him potentially being on the set.
Ooh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll dig into that. We got a trailer for Aquaman, King of Atlantis, an animated miniseries coming to HBO Max on October 14th. Looks interesting. It looks funny. Pumped for it.
So, following up on things we were excited about, I'm going to talk about things we were excited about till they got canceled. Kevin Biegel, the showrunner for the canceled Marvel's New Warriors show, which would have been awesome, released pics of Melania Vinterub as Squirrel Girl. If anyone isn't familiar with Squirrel Girl, you should be. She's an awesome character, and also can defeat Thanos, so that's fine.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Where was she in Infinity War? We got a release date for HBO Max exclusive audio drama Batman: The Audio Adventures. This is something we've talked about the show before. It is a audio drama exclusively available through the HBO Max app, not on a podcast app, only through the HBO Max app. Interesting. This stars Jeffrey Wright as Batman, Rosario Dawson as Catwoman, John Leguizamo as Riddler. And talk about a star-studded cast. You got Seth Meyers, Jason Sudeikis, Fred Armisen, Kenan Thompson, Brett Spiner, Ike Barinholtz, Bobby Moynihan, Alan Tudyk, Brooke Shields, Paul Scheer, Tim Meadows, and Ray Wise, all doing voices on Batman: The Audio Adventures, coming out this week, again, as part of Batman Day celebrations.
Isn't Jeffrey Wright also Uatu?
He's also a Uatu, and he's Commissioner Gordon in the Matt Reeves Batman movie coming out next year. So he's all over.
That's great.
Yeah.
And let's see. Up next, Jason Aaron, Mahmoud Asar, and Matt Wilson are reteaming for the King Conan comic miniseries. They did the 2019 run on Conan the Barbarian, which was actually pretty good after Marvel brought the rights back. And apparently they're getting the band back together.
All right, and last but certainly not least, not really a piece of news, but something that both Steve and I are very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, after many, many years of waiting and wondering, tomorrow we will see the debut of a live-action adaptation of Y: The Last Man, debuting on FX and Hulu, I believe, tomorrow, September 13th. All right, so out of all those headlines, Steve, what should we go back and touch on?
Well, since I know we're going to close with one of those headlines, we might as well touch on Garfield, just because right after he denied...
Because we can't do an episode without talking about Spider-Man No Way Home.
We have to talk about Spidey somehow in here.
Yeah.
But, like, he denied it, 48 hours ago, and then almost immediately after, there was footage that leaked... of him in a Spidey suit that was not his spider suit from the Amazing Spider-Man series. So
how do we know that it wasn't an outtake or a rehearsal or something from the Amazing Spider-Man?
Nobody has any clue, and that's the weird thing. And why, was somebody holding receipts that long to just have this piece of old footage that they just never dropped, and then it just shows up, which wouldn't surprise me also because people are weird, but I don't know. I still am not sold on wanting the old Spider-Man, but
Same.
I'm in the minority, I think.
Yeah, I think you and I are both in the minority there. But if someone wants to know why, they can go back and listen to us talk about this
we
movie
ranted
way
about
too
that
much.
way too much.
Last few episodes. Um, I am. I think it would be hilarious for me and you, but a bad move for Sony at this point if Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire are not in this movie. I think it would be
Yeah.
hilarious. Because so many people think that it is 100% happening. If it's just, sorry, that was never the plan. We told you that it wasn't happening. We weren't lying. They're not in this movie.
We said this.
Like, so many people would be just livid, would be so mad if they're not in that movie. And I think there's a fair chance that they're actually not. Like, they might be. All signs may point to yes, but Andrew Garfield is vehemently denying that he's in it. Twice I've read articles. I've seen videos of him saying strongly, I am not a part of this project.
Right.
Nobody has called me. I am not doing this.
The last quotes included like, I don't know what else I can say about this, and dropped an F-bomb in there about like denying it. I'm like, he's pretty strongly saying he's not in this thing. Like, that's not just NDA talk. That's like, stop effing talking to me.
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything. No one's interviewed Toby about it.
Yeah.
And or if they have, it's not making the news. Or he's just saying, you better not ask me about Spider-Man because I don't want to talk about it. But
Right.
it seems like Andrew Garfield's denial of it seems so adamant.
Yeah.
That it's not cagey at all. It's not like, well, I would love to be a part of it, but we'll have to wait and see. That's like the classic actor, like, I'm really a part of it, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. Like, you know,
I'm holding to my
it's
NDA,
just like,
but I'm not denying that I'm not in it.
yeah, because like, you never want to be like. I remember J.J. Abrams took a lot of flack. Speaking of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, he took a lot of flack with that second one where he said Benedict Cumberbatch is not playing Khan. No, he's not. He's playing a different character. And then lo and behold, he's playing Khan. That's who he is. And he took a lot of heat for directly lying to fans.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a mistake for him to be. If it's a mistake for Andrew Garfield to be denying this so adamantly if he is actually in it. So I feel like it's either going to be a mistake from Sony to not put them in it, or it's a mistake for Andrew Garfield to be lying about it. But then again, like, if you're lying about it because you want it to be a surprise and because you know it's gonna be so cool when it is revealed, then you know it's likely that the fans will forgive him for lying about it, I guess.
Yep.
Speaking of lying, real quick, I gotta say, I've got to print a correction from last week, where we talked about the possibility. We did report it as a rumor that Bane was going to show up in Peacemaker show. James Gunn took to Twitter, I think, while we were talking about it, or like I saw it soon after the next day. He said like, this is not true. Like, I don't lie to the fans, and he's not in it. This is not true. So that was a waste of me talking about it last week. But anyway,
That was fun.
don't get excited for that. It was fun. I'm excited about Aquaman, King of Atlantis. I think it looks really funny. It looks kind of like a early 2000s Cartoon Network kids show. It looks kid friendly, which I'm excited to be able to maybe watch it with my son, unless it ends up being, you know, a little more adult in nature. The trailer certainly didn't look that way. And I thought it was a series. It's like a mini series. There's like 3 parts. I guess it's going to be like 3 longer mini movies or something maybe. But and I guess I don't know if that it's in continuity, because it seemingly takes. It's like his first day as King of Atlantis, where the Aquaman movie left off as he just accepted the role. So like maybe it's like an Elseworlds kind of follow up. But I don't know. I'm excited for that, and I would have been pretty excited to see live action Squirrel Girl, but that is a bummer that we're not going to get that, because that actress looked pretty good as Squirrel Girl.
Yeah, it was convincing.
Tail looked a little wonky.
That's what CGI is for.
You know,
Mike.
who knows?
That's what CGI
That
is
could have
for.
been CGI. Yeah.
I think that was so. What we saw was probably the like actual physical prop, and then they smooth it out in post, because you know that's what they do now. So
Yes.
but New Warriors
That's a
would have been
bummer.
fun.
Yeah, I forgot that they were even thinking about making a new Warrior show.
Yep.
I feel like it didn't. I mean, apparently got farther along than I thought it did. I didn't realize that they were doing
Right, actual tests and promos.
yeah,
and stuff.
camera tests and things like that. Yeah, but I'm sure the MCU being what it is and going in the direction that it is, I'm sure that we will see a Squirrel Girl sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Either as a cameo or they'll introduce her in whatever Young Avengers ends up being.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm sure it'll happen. Probably not with the same actress or not as New Warriors, but we'll see. And really, I don't know. Did you read the Jason Aaron Conan run? You said you thought it was really good. I'm not super familiar with Conan
I read the
stuff,
first
but
couple of
certainly
issues
a
of
badass.
it. As dumb as it sounds, I accidentally ended up with the first 3 issues because John Tyler Christopher did covers for them in the action figure style that he does.
Oh, nice.
And I had told our good friends over at the artist formerly known as Cloud City Comics, pull anything that he did because he was doing the Star Wars stuff and the X-Men stuff. And those the action figure covers were just cool. So I didn't know he was dropping the Conan stuff. They threw 3 of those in my pull box, and they were. I mean, it was solid. And Aaron's one of those guys that anything he does seems to be, pretty well received. So
yeah, for sure. I haven't read too much Conan. The last thing that I read was we talked about Savage Avengers recently on this podcast, and there's I think it's the first issue of Savage Avengers. He fights Wolverine, which is pretty badass.
Oh yeah.
That's the last I've read of Conan. But again, Jason Aaron is great. I'm sure that, and someone that can write Thor, Thor, Conan, they're not entirely out of each other's.
No, the Venn diagram overlaps a little.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of overlap there, seemingly. But yeah, Steve, how pumped are you for Y the Last Man tomorrow, dude?
Yes. That's it. Yes.
Yes.
As soon as that drops, I've already told my wife, I'm like, you're sitting through this because you're going to like it.
Yeah.
There's
I
no
just
chance
hope that it's not terrible.
Yeah. I mean, just from as weird as it sounds, usually I judge a teaser or trailer from, especially for something that we know why, for how much they show. And I feel like they didn't show anything or very little of what's to come. So to me, that usually bodes well if they can create a good trailer out of not showing anything.
Yeah. Yep. If you're listening this long and you don't know what Y the Last Man is, just real quick, Y the Last Man is a famous graphic novel series, comic book series, I should say, based on a mysterious plague taking out everybody on the planet with a Y chromosome except one man named Yorick and his pet monkey, and he has to survive in I guess you can call it post-apocalyptic wasteland where he's the only male in the world. And we've talked about this kind of at length in the past in this show. I'm interested to see how or if they talk about transgendered people, non-binary people, how that factors in. Gender is a different topic to talk about than it was in 2002 or 2003 when this comic book debuted. So I'll be interested to see how that adapts. And this show, there's been so many rumored adaptations of this book for so long. It's been in development hell so many times. Like I said, I just don't want it to be terrible. Like, even if it's just fine, I'll watch every episode of it. But I just don't be terrible. It can be great. It can be okay. It can be meh. Just don't be terrible. That's all I want.
Yep.
Not terrible. I actually read a different something else that said that the showrunner has a 5-season arc for it, like it's planned out, which makes me very excited that it's not let's just do this as long as possible. They will be setting, hopefully, if they have an end point and they know how it's going to end, they can set things in motion to get there.
Hey, I know where they got their 5 seasons from.
Yeah, because you have them in the 5 books, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be easy.
I have them in 10.
Right. So the trades when they came out, the trades when they came out were 10s. Now they're starting to put them out in the doubled up form, not a full omnibus or anything. But
clearly it's not going to be a frame by frame adaptation of the entire series. So like they can certain things I'm sure will get cut out. I'm sure certain things will happen quicker than they do in the book, or happen in different ways or whatever. So a lot of ground to cover, but I think they can do it in 5 seasons. I think that's a good number.
Yeah. All I want to see is ampersand. That's it. We're good.
Yeah. Let's do it. So I'm sure that next week at this time we'll be talking about Why the Last Man, what we thought of it, and a bunch of other stuff, whatever happens between now and then. And unless you got something else, Steve, that's all I got for this week.
No, that's probably about it. As always, you can find us live on twitch.tv/The Multiverse Report every Sunday at 9:30, unless we tell you otherwise. And if you want to follow all our social media channels, at Multiverse RPT on Twitter, The Multiverse Report on any other social media channels you'd follow, Facebook, Instagram, etc. We'll let you know there if anything changes. Any hate mail, love mail, any other mail, themultiversereport@gmail.com. If you would like to listen to us in audio form, any podcatcher you feel like, feel free to subscribe. Leave us a review. Any Apple reviews we'll read out because it really helps our algorithm a lot.
Please.
And we'll throw this up on YouTube as well, so feel free to like, subscribe, ring that bell to know when we upload the video, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you next time around the multiverse.